Lake Hayes Property Holdings Limited versus Petherbridge 2014. Facts of the case. The address is 25 Arrowtown, Lake Hayes Road. Petherbridge owns one unit of 9 in a unit titled motel development besides Lake Hayes. It's near Arrowtown Central, Otago. She uses her unit to draw the amazing views as she's an artist. Lake Hayes Property Limited is a developer and owned the other 8 units. LHP wanted to sell the complex for redevelopment as the properties were built in 1960 and are small, outdated, and no longer provide acceptable accommodation. The land and units comprise a unit title subdivision under the Unit Titles Act 2010. Each unit comprises a strata estate and a freehold that may be sold individually, but to sell the property for redevelopment, it would be advantageous to sell the land and all 9 units as a whole. LHP applied to the court to dissolve the body corporate and cancel the unit plan under Section 189 of the Unit Titles Act 2010 and sought orders under Section 399 of the Property Land Act 2007 for the sale or division of the land. LHP identified that a sale of the entire site would make the best market proposition. A number of offers were made to Petherbridge and declined each while suggesting alternatives. Mrs. Petherbridge opposes Property Holdings Limited application, particularly the making of any order whereby her interest in the property is lost. The issue. The proceedings raises 2 main issues. 1. Whether it is just and equitable to order that the body corporate be dissolved and the unit plan cancelled, having regard to the rights and interest of all affected parties. And 2. If such an order is made, whether a further order requiring the purchase of Mrs. Petherbridge's share or for the sale of the whole property or division of the land is appropriate. In January 2013, Property Holdings made a further offer to Mrs. Petherbridge. The first alternative was to purchase her existing unit for an increased price of $274,500, together with an agreement that if the site as a whole was sold within 12 months for the sum greater than $3 million, Mrs. Petherbridge would receive 9.15% as the excess. The alternative offer was for Property Holdings to build 1-bedroom unit for Mrs. Petherbridge on the northeastern corner of the land overlooking Arrowtown Lake Hayes Road. The land required for the dwelling would comprise a separate freehold title. Neither proposal was of any interest to Mrs. Petherbridge.
After taking into consideration a range of legal and practical issues under the Unit Titles Act, the court ordered cancellation of the unit plan. This decision was heavily based on LHP's significant ownership interest of over 90%. The court held that it was just and equitable to cancel the unit plan under Section 188, cancellation of unit plan by High Court. As a result, this would mean that LHP and Petherbridge would become co-owners in shares. In relation to Section 339 of the Act, LHP would have preferred to purchase Petherbridge's share at a fair and reasonable price. However, Petherbridge opposed a compulsory sale of her interest, arguing that Section 339 does not expressly allow a court to impose sale on a co-owner, that such a power should not be implied, but also that even if present, it should not be readily imposed. The courts did not agree, as they were in favour with LHP's counsel view that Section 339 would allow the court to order that one co-owner purchase the share of another. Court's view. Property Holdings submitted that in assessing hardship, the starting point is its ownership interest of over 90%. The counsel submitted that in assessing relative hardship, Property Holdings' dominant ownership share and their reasonable wish to realize the value of its asset in comparison to Petherbridge's assertion that her amenity interests somehow outweigh the interests of Property Holdings. The courts did consider many options, including Petherbridge's proposal for a 176-metre-squared lot, which also included a right-of-way. This would require a land use consent as well as a non-complying subdivision consent. The area of Petherbridge's stratum title was 83 square meters for the fee simple lot, which would devalue the site and diminish its appeal to purchasers. In relation to Section 342 of the Unit Titles Act, factors that were considered were the number of co-owners, the extent of their shares, the nature of location, the values of contributions to improvement and maintenance, and comparative hardships.
Final court decision. I make a declaration authorizing the cancellation of the unit plan for the property of 3,055 meters squared at 25 Arrowtown Lake Hayes Road. Should any further conditional direction be required to give effect to this declaration, leave is reserved for such to be so pursuant to the Section 188 of the Unit Titles Act 2010. I also make an order pursuant to Section 339 of the Property Law Act 2007, requiring property holdings to purchase the 9.15% share of Ms. Peterbridge and the property for the sum of $274,500. Further, I order that property holding is to pay Ms. Peterbridge 9.15% of the excess if the property is sold within 12 months of the sum greater than $3 million. The court stated that they were to compensate Ms. Peterbridge for the hardship she will face, given that the cost of a comparable replacement apartment will be $365,000.
What a proactive property manager would do. A proactive property manager should have informed the party selling her property that there could be a scenario in which they would need to comply with the party who owned a large amount of the properties. A proactive property manager could also have remedied the situation by communicating with the party being obligated to sell her property that there are other alternatives for her to make a holiday home within a different property. This would help her feel more calm about selling her property to the other party. A proactive property manager would also facilitate clear communication between the two parties. There should be a clear understanding of the obligations and possible outcomes should the unit plan be cancelled.
Thank you for watching. If you would like any more information on the case, please click that link.